I'm willing to say he's the basement coach of the year.
It's 2 games. They got to get something rolling.
This is the Sports Saga podcast, and it's presented by Aldias Electric. Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. Wherever you're watching and listening, like, subscribe, share, leave us your feedback, and find us across social media using that link tree in the description below. Brady Kudo, along with Keegan Hamlet, and our guest, a co-host of BOLT Brady and his bro, BOLT Brady. Names right in the title there, BOLT. Thanks for being here. Most importantly, how are you?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. So let's get right into this. You're a co-host of the podcast BOLT Brady and his bro, which dives into the world of sports betting and sports gambling. So tell us about your podcast and why do you do it?
Sure. So it was an idea of our mom. Our mom said, so I've been doing the handicap thing forever. And my brother and I always sit around and talk sports. That's all we've ever talked about. And so my mom had the idea that we should do the podcast. And when we first did it, I remember there was I think probably like 32 people that listened to it. And that made sense because we were like, okay, that's our friends. And then it jumped up to like 75 people. And I was like, I was trying to think if we had that many friends that, that knew about it. And then I'm like, and then after that, it started getting into the couple of hundreds and it kind of skyrocketed from there. And so then I knew, I'm like, oh, well, maybe this podcast is working here. Maybe people do enjoy it. So we kind of took it from there.
So is this your first podcasting work or did you do anything before the BOLT Brady and his bro?
No. That was definitely the first thing we've ever done with the podcast.
So how long did it take you to get rolling, really, like get to that few thousand listeners or whatever?
I would say, we got up to there was, when we first, I think our third or fourth show, we had like over 200 people. And then, it's grown exponentially since then. So, I guess after the first year, probably going into our second year, I guess is when we first got over 1,000, and then it just keeps going from there.
Were there any challenges like right in the beginning, like you were thinking maybe this isn't going to work out? Like, how did you come above those if there were any challenges?
I think, that's a good question. I have some friends that don't give compliments out very often. And they were complimenting the show. And they were people that I would just not expect to get a compliment about about the show. So when the show kept growing and a couple of my friends thought it was good, then I was like, we might have something here.
Yeah, it's actually how some of my friends are. They don't give compliments very often. They'd be like, I checked out this, a recent episode, thought it was really good. So I was like, all right, people appreciate podcasting. So, obviously, you're a sports handicapper. You've been doing this for a while. And the betting industry is just taking over sports, right? We see it now with several networks are having shows dedicated to betting. I know MLB Network just came out with a show that's betting based. So how have you seen the world of sports betting and sports gambling just change the landscape of sports?
Yeah. Like you said, you can watch all the major networks now, and the lines are going across the bottom of what the spread is for a lot of the games. I think one of the biggest differences is it's not taboo to talk about it anymore, right? Like before, it was kind of like in the basement, and everyone would kind of talk about, hey, who's your bookie, and now people can talk freely about it. So I think that's probably one of the biggest changes, I think.
Do you want to talk about the impact it might have had on family and friends? Like, were they not into sports betting, and then after listening to the podcast a few times, they get into it?
That's a great question. One of the things that I learned early on is that I thought that people were listening to it for the picks, like what teams were picking to win and cover. And then after talking to people, I would say it's probably 50-50, maybe like half the people are listening for the sports and the picks. And then the other people, in their words, are just listening for the entertainment value of it. So I learned that that was a big surprise to me. I thought for sure people were listening. And then after talking to people, they're like, we don't even bet, we just listen to the show for entertainment. So that was a big surprise to me.
It's funny that you brought up the lines and you brought up the entertainment, because my dad's actually been getting into, he's really into the sports betting and following lines and over unders and that stuff. I, for one, I'm starting to understand it. It's a lot, but I will say one thing that did help me. They don't pay me to tell you this. I'm finding here this documentary on Netflix called a bad sports. It's like a bad sport, right? It's a series, and one of the episodes was called Hoop Schemes, and it's about the 1994 Arizona State Sun Devil basketball team, and they were point shaving.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? Do you have it? Like
I haven't
oh
seen
my
it,
God,
but I remember that. Yeah, that's always one of someone's big fear is that someone's point shaving, but now since there's so much money involved, they've got so many ways to look out for that. Like if there's a huge influx of money going a certain way, so the chances of point shaving happening are super, super rare, especially like on the bigger games. Yeah. Like that, maybe at smaller divisions, where I guess it tends to happen is like international soccer, but not even the highest levels, like the super low levels, or tennis, apparently, on smaller levels.
Tennis, all right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because then you only need one guy
Right.
But it's not an issue really, and there's all kinds of protections that are put in place for that. But yeah, tell your dad to listen to our podcast. He'll be able to.
I said, you're gonna have to check this out. He said he would after he watched this one. I'm gonna bring that up to friends and family, whatever, especially ones that are into sports betting. Now, do you have a preferred, because again, there's so many books out there, Caesar Sportsbook, DraftKings, FanDuel. Do you have a preferred a betting site or book?
I use probably 5 different sources for that. BetAG is a partner of ours, so I use them a lot. And then 365 bet, and yeah, so I have about 5 different ones that I use.
Do you have like a preferred sport that you like to bet on? Any top 2, top 3 leagues or sports?
Yeah, well, football, I love betting football. The NFL, I think what you'll find if you talk to most handicappers, is the most difficult to handicap. And the reason for that is it's the most popular sport to bet. And so therefore there's the most resources put towards that. And so it's very, very difficult to find an edge in the NFL. I love college football and basketball, and then the NBA and golf. I like to do it with golf as well.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you, honestly, because I don't know, what do you bet on in golf?
So you can, before the tournament starts, you can bet on who you think is going to win the tournament, which is extremely, extremely difficult. Or you can bet before the tournament starts who's going to win this match. Excuse me. So is Tiger Woods going to beat Phil Mickelson? And you can bet on that. And then also you can bet on individual matches on a daily basis too. So is Tiger Woods going to beat Phil Mickelson today on Friday? And then, on Saturday, is Tiger going to beat Ricky Fowler? And you can bet on that.
Well, that's interesting.
Would you say you have like any trickeries or loopholes that you try to do in any sports betting to win? Because I was about to tell Brady I didn't have time, but I tell him sometimes I'll do a little hockey betting, and the trick I have is to use players on the same line so they get credited with the assist if they get a goal too. And for football, if I pick a quarterback, I'm picking like Prescott or Matt Ryan because they throw the ball a lot. get 400 yards a game. So those are my tricks. Do you have any for you?
I don't know about tricks, but I would say, I've been doing this for about over 20 years now.
Wow.
So, and I still learning, but I do have certain things that I look for. Certain certain stats or during the beginning or during the middle of a game, because you can bet during the middle of a game as well, in game gambling. And there's certain things that I'll look for, that like the pace of play and maybe take an under or an over. But loopholes, not really. Just I would think a lot of experience.
All right, so we're in this talk of leagues. Let's go right into that. So you brought up and the NBA as one of your favorite leagues to bet on. So let's start with that. BOLT Brady. Given the way the playoffs have started to shape out right now, who do you like to go to the finals?
Well, did you watch the Warriors game last night by chance?
I did.
Yeah, they looked really, really tough. They're super tough to beat at home. So I'll get straight to it. I think it'll be the Warriors against the Bucks.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think I think Giannis he's just a beast, and he's got the shooting, and Drew Holiday can play great defense. And then the Warriors they're just solid. They're tough to stop.
Keegan?
I'm still going with my pick that we had a few episodes ago, Milwaukee, but Miami the other night, when they were up by 30 against Atlanta in game 1, they looked good.
Yeah.
And just like Golden State, that home crowd is going to help them a lot. Golden State, it's not as big as it used to be at the Oracle, but Chase Center's still rocking.
Yeah, no, it does. My original pick, right? I was like the Warriors. I mean, in Steph and Clay, come May, I trust. And originally I was like, I think the Chicago Bulls are going to be this team that's going to sneak. And now I'm like, no. The Miami Heat are they're too good. I think they defend really well. You see, Adebayo had a great game defensively the other day. Jimmy Butler is doing everything right. Robinson, we know
9 for 10 on threes.
What is it?
Duncan went 9 for 10 on threes.
9 for 10 on three. Like in the playoffs, that's what's going to win you games.
Yeah.
Right. I was thinking that the Celtics as well. I partial them, obviously, but after that game 1 against the Nets, I'm a little concerned. I'm a little more concerned for that team than I was a week ago, because it took a buzzer beater to beat a team that they really should have beaten by 5 points at least, I think. So Warriors Bucks.
Oh, I was supposed to say a West too.
Sorry, Heat Warriors. All right, I'm going Heat Warriors as well. Baseball, obviously, the MLB is back in session. We've seen, again, it is early. We've seen some teams flourish and surprise, and we've seen players and teams, and we've seen some players and teams underachieve thus far. Keegan Hamlet, I'm going to start with you. I know it's early, but who looks like the front runner for the American League MVP?
Shohei Ohtani right now. Like, just because of the team he's on, he might not get awarded the pick. But if they make the playoffs, they make a good run. He, for me, is the most valuable person on any team in that AL.
I would have to agree with that.
See, it's tough because you have someone like Alex Verdugo, who is not going to win it, but he's playing at an MVP. He is red hot with a bat in his hands right now. But I'm with you guys. I don't want to admit it, but I need to, because we know Ohtani pumps gas. And I think he's on I don't know, man, I could be wrong. 4-game hitting streak, 5-game hitting streak. I get it. It's 10 games into the year. But if we think this is wide open, I think the National League MVP race is even more wide open. And I don't want to pick a winner. Although I don't want to pick a winner. Like, honestly, like, I don't know. Bolt, Keegan, NL MVP?
I think it's fun to watch because people have so many predictions of what they think. Like with the Dodgers, of course. The Giants weren't supposed to do very well, and they're balling again. And then I followed the Giants and the A's a lot, just being from Northern California. And once again, like the A's were supposed to be total garbage, and they've actually started off pretty well also. So I just think it's funny, like the people that predict who they think are going to do well, and they're rarely ever right.
Right. Another person too, Chris Bryant. The Rockies are sitting at 7-3 right now. And I understand there's 152 games left to go. But you looked at the Rockies and they signed Bryant. Like we were like, I was like, oh, Bryant Story, maybe something's brewing there. And then I'm up here like, Story going to the Sox. We're good. And then it's like, oh, Chris Bryant, what are you doing? Like Story just left. But I'm actually really surprised. I mean, I'm just saying, like, we're looking at a dark horse for MVP. I'm going to throw Chris Bryant's name out there right now. And in the AL, I'm throwing Vladdy Guerrero's name out there as well. I forgot about.
He's definitely somebody who can win it.
So I don't even want to pick a World Series winner yet, because again, everything's wide open. You've got teams like, the Yankees and the Dodgers, who seem to be favorites every year, but then you have teams that you could go on a run, like a Cinderella run. And I think that's the Seattle Mariners. And I think it's the Philadelphia Phillies. Does anyone disagree?
I'm only disagreeing on the Seattle one. That's it.
Okay.
I'm still sitting back and watching.
I should probably do that too. No, I should.
I kind of take baseball in certain stretches, because like you said, they play so many games.
Right.
So I kind of look at, baseball as like 10 game sets. Like, how's this team doing for those 10 games, and bet accordingly.
10 games. Actually, that's I like that. I don't even want to get into the NFL, just because the madness that it is right now. The one thing's for sure in the NFL: the Cowboys are going out in the first round of the playoffs. That's all. That's a given. That's a given. And
I don't know. The fans think it's their year, so maybe
they'll probably have a top 5 pick. Beautiful, actually, that we just brought up the Jags, because the NFL draft, people like to bet on the NFL draft. Who is your betting favorite to go number 1 on Thursday?
You know what? To be honest, I do not bet on the draft.
Really?
I don't. No. And I know there's certain people that do. You can only bet so many things and do well, on them. I mean, it's like, if that's one of the things that I learned early on, and I think most people do, is if you try to bet on everything, you're going to get crushed. You got to specialize in a few things. So when the NFL starts, my NFL for me, and that's when our podcast really gets rocking too in the NFL, is probably like the second week of July. And I'm dialed in for the NFL then. But the draft, once again, so many of those kids get so hyped up, and they don't do anything their first year anyway, for the most part. Maybe 1 or 2 of them does,
Yeah.
So I don't really follow the draft. That's just not something I do, but others do, and they do very well, but I just don't specialize in that.
Keegan, who do you think is going number 1?
Whoever that edge rusher is, I forget his name, but
There's 3. There's 3 that are projected to go number 1.
Say the names and I'll
Aiden Hutchinson.
Nope, not him.
Trayvon Walker.
Nope.
Kayvon Thibodeau.
No.
Oh boy.
I'm forgetting who it was.
Oh boy.
I think it was an edge.
This is from what I've heard. It looks like, again, it's just what I've heard from sources, Schefter and all that a number 1 pick has been made. And from what I've been told, the GM of the Jags, I don't remember his name.
Oh, we'll just go Hutchinson, but that's not who I was thinking of.
I think Hutchinson's going to go, but somebody was like, Trayvon Walker is like the GM's type of player. And he was someone that just shot up draft boards, and Kayvon Thibodeau shot down draft boards. So as much as I like Hutchinson, I do. I think he's a beast off the line of scrimmage, but I think it's going to be Walker that does go number 1 on Thursday. So don't miss the NFL draft Thursday, April 28th on ABC and ESPN, and like Reese Davis will be there. It's all cool. Bolt Brady and his bro is on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you check that out, and make sure you check the Sports Saga podcast out as well. Again, shout out to Al Dias Electric, our sponsor. Al wants you to give him a call if you're in the Southeastern Mass and Rhode Island area. If you need any electrical needs, I'm going to pull up his phone number now, because you'd think after 8 weeks I'd remember. I don't. 508-889-4265. That's in the description below. For the Lightning, Bolt Brady and Keegan Hamlet, I'm Brady Kudo. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the draft.